How is everyone? Happy Friday. It's Amy Welch, Sapphire Ambassador, and I wanted to do a lunch and learn today on overcoming objections. We have a lot of new people working the business right now. We have a lot of people who maybe have been using the products for a really long time, but they are interested in the business, especially now with the double bonus incentive. And I know that objections is something that we all run into, and it takes a little bit of a learning curve to learn how to overcome those objections. So I thought I would jump on here quickly today and do a quick lunch and learn on how to overcome objections, right? So, one thing I want to preface objections with is you guys have to have belief and confidence in plexus. That's actually the very foundation for overcoming objections. If you look at the national statistics in our country, diabetes is through the roof. 1 in 3 people will develop diabetes in their lifetime. We have an obesity epidemic. Food nowadays is fast, cheap, and quick, and that means it wreaks havoc on our systems and our bodies, and it leads to all sorts of health issues that are on the rise. We have the power to change that. We have the power to impact that. We also have the power to change people's financial futures and their financial situations, right? More people go to sleep worrying about their health and their finances than anything. Debt and money is the number one cause of marriages to break up, right? People fight over money. So you guys have to be bold in what we are sharing and in what we have. You have to be bold in the confidence, right, of plexus. Now, if you're brand new, hey guys, if you're brand new to plexus, you're not going to have that belief, and that's fine, but you can borrow that belief, right? You can borrow it from me. You can borrow it from your sponsor. You can borrow it from our upline, Sarah Taylor. I promise you, I have enough belief and confidence in this company to cover everyone on the team, right? Because we have proven products and we have a proven opportunity. So that is kind of the foundation to overcoming objections. If you find that you're getting kind of the same objection over and over, you want to look internally at you. That's probably one of the hardest things about this business. To be successful, you got to peel back your own layers and look at what might be holding you back and look at maybe what you can improve, okay? So objections are common. We all get them. I've had them. I still get them a little bit, not as often as I did in the beginning, but you want to be bold and apologetic, right? The minute I drew my line in the sand and I decided to be bold and unapologetic about sharing plexus, that's when I started to see success. My internal voice that I hear over and over when we share plexus or when I think about plexus is, why wouldn't someone want these products? And why wouldn't someone want this business opportunity? Because that's my internal belief. That comes through in everything I do. That energy comes through when I talk to people. That energy comes through when I get an objection from somebody. That is kind of my basis for how I talk about plexus, okay? So the trick for you guys in overcoming objections is to grow yourself and to learn, right? But if you're brand new, we don't want you to wait until you've gotten there before you start sharing and before you start talking about plexus. So use your sponsor. If your sponsor isn't active, keep going up. I promise you will find a sponsor, and really lean into this team. I see every once in a while people work in this business kind of over in the corner all by themselves. They're not on the team page. They're not in chats. They're not on calls. They're not going to be as successful because they cannot build their belief from us, from their uplines, from their sidelines, right? So use some 3-way chats, use some screenshots. We're going to talk about that a little bit later, okay? But this call in particular, we're going to talk about some of the common objections. Everyone gets them. Everyone gets the pricing objection once in their business at least. Everyone gets it's a scam, it's a pyramid scheme, I'm just going to go to the gym, I'm just going to eat healthy. Everyone gets those objections, okay? Everyone. Totally normal. But if you are somebody who's getting them often, like if all of your people give you the pricing objection, then it's you. It's something you're projecting onto them. It's something maybe you're saying or not saying in your replies to them. it's not actually their objection, it's yours, okay? So it's how you share plexus, right? Are you puking plexus on them? Look, we've all done it. We've all been guilty of it. When I first started plexus, right, you want to give them all the information because you're so excited, and you end up sending a message that's like this long, okay? That is completely overwhelming to people. Even if you send them great information, it's too much, and they're going to check out, and they're probably going to have an objection because you've overwhelmed them. I like to follow the rule that responses, when you're engaging in a conversation with somebody new about plexus, responses should never be more than 5 or 6 sentences, right? You don't have to cram everything in about how great the products are, what the triplex does, all the ways to order, your website, how to do it, how excited they are. You don't have to cram all that in. You just want to have that back and forth conversation. So that could be maybe why you are getting some objections in what you're sending. The best way to know how you can improve that is to send some screenshots to your upline and be like, look, these are all the messages I've sent people. I'm either getting I'm getting a price objection on every single one, or I'm getting no response. Send your upline a screenshot, put the screenshot in here in the business group, and let us all give you feedback. It's how we all learn. In fact, the way I learned to overcome objections, I used 3-way messages with Sarah Taylor. Now, if you guys know my story, you know that Sarah and I were not friends before Plexus. She was a stranger. I didn't know her. I hadn't even met her in person until like 3 weeks into my Plexus journey. But I still used her for 3-way messages all the way up until I ranked to gold. Even then, I would still use her, now and again. But that's how I learned in the beginning. I put everyone in a 3-way, and I watched her overcome those objections. I watched her send them information and answer their questions, okay? But I want you to think about objections as a good thing. These are not negatives. They're not a closed door. All you have to do is learn how to respond to those objections, because if you don't respond, then the door will remain closed, okay? In fact, I actually love objections. Yep, you heard me say it. I love objections. Why do I love objections? Because if I don't know how to overcome someone's hesitation, then I can't help them get started on Plexus, right? So oftentimes, if I can tell someone's kind of hem-hawing around and they haven't replied to me, I'll just flat out ask them, what is your objection, right? What is your hesitation? If we don't know, we can't overcome it. Okay, and remember, just because you get an objection doesn't mean they don't want to try Plexus, doesn't mean they're not ready to start. It just means they either have, one, a lack of knowledge, okay? You haven't done your due diligence in sharing what Plexus can do for them, right? It's one thing to talk about how great the triplex is. That means nothing. You need to share what the triplex can do for them specifically, which is why you want to engage in that back and forth conversation. Objections could also mean they just have a normal skepticism, right? We all had it. We can relate to that. But once you love the products and you start working the business, it's easy to forget that skepticism we had at the beginning, right? Or it could actually be that they're afraid. They have a fear of trying something new. They have a fear of what people will think of them, and that's okay. Okay, all that's expected. We want to normalize that for them. So if somebody does bring up a question or an objection, I want you guys to be comfortable and be bold in handling it, okay? And that comes from your confidence and your conviction. A big part of your success journey is going to be able to grow in your confidence, grow in your belief. But until then, remember, you can borrow mine, right? One thing I did to help grow my belief, I went to opportunity events every chance I got. We hosted them in Houston once a month. I don't care if one person showed up or 100 people showed up. I never missed one, because being around other ambassadors, being around people who have incredible testimonies, whether it's not needing coffee or getting rid of their IBS, that built my belief, right? And I now have this unshakable belief. There isn't anything anybody can object to that I can't overcome. And because of that, now I don't get a lot of objections, you guys. I don't get a price objection. Now I might have somebody who needs to wait until payday, right, to order, but I don't get objections because people can sense your hesitation. They can sense your fear. They can even sense your uncertainty. And that can make them bring up even more objections, or that can make them decide not to move forward with you, okay? So I want to give you a couple examples. If you are in your head all the time thinking, oh my goodness, Plexus is so expensive. Like this person doesn't have a lot of money. They're not going to be able to afford it. I don't think they're gonna like the price of the welcome pack. If you're thinking all that in your head, that's going to come through in your energy and your actions, and they're going to pick up on it. Whereas in your head, if you're like, these products are not expensive, they're super affordable. Anyone can afford a $30 bottle of probiotics. And on top of that, people afford what they want to afford. Why wouldn't they want to spend $99 to change their health? If that is the confidence you portray, then that's the energy they're going to pick up on, okay? They are going to pick up on your confidence. If you think of it on the flip side and be in their shoes, would you want to purchase something from someone that was kind of wishy-washy or hesitant, or came to you and said things like, you know, you might want to try it. I don't know. I know it's expensive. You know, I thought it was expensive too. Maybe if you can save some money, maybe you could try it. I'd be like, not really. It's okay. But if somebody came to me and was like, oh my goodness, Amy, you're going to love it. You're going to feel awesome. It's totally worth it. It's not expensive. I cannot wait for you to get started. I'm going to be like, okay, yeah, like she says, I'm going to love it. I'm going to order it, right? So a lot of this, guys, when we get into these common objections, I'm going to give you ways to overcome them and things to say. But keep in mind that a lot of it is in your, the way you're portraying and your confidence in sharing the product, right? So objections aren't the final no. Remember, it's a natural part of the conversation. It just means you haven't answered some of their questions or covered something with them, right? The best way is to hit it head on. Don't try to cover it up that you don't know the answer. Don't not answer their question, right? But you control the conversation, right? This is something that you just is a learned skill, I think, in how to talk to people about Plexus. Because let's say you post about Plexus, somebody says, oh my goodness, tell me more, right? You're like, okay, I'll send you a message. And what's the first thing most people say? How much is it? If you answer that right then, you've lost them. You've completely lost them, because they don't know. That's not the question they should be asking you at first. They shouldn't be asking you, how much is it? They should be asking you, what can it do for me? Right? So it's up to you to lead the conversation. So if somebody comes right to me and says, how much is it? I'm like, oh my goodness, it depends on which product is best for you. We have so many products. I can't really tell you a price, but even our most expensive combos are just a couple of bucks a day. Tell me what your health goals are. I redirect the conversation, right? Price means nothing in the beginning until you know what product you can recommend for them. So it's imperative that you are leading these conversations. And again, screenshot them. If you're not sure or you're too afraid for whatever reason to put your sponsor in a three-way chat, which you're missing out if you don't do the three-way chats, then at least do the screenshot. So then we can see if, what objections you're having, and then we can help you model how to overcome it, all right? So this is imperative if you're looking to hit silver and gold, using those three-way chats, doing those screenshots, and overcoming these objections. But it's just good for anyone working their business, right? It's good if you've been doing it a while. It's good as a refresher. It's also good to make sure that your new people understand this. This is something that you can teach them, okay? So what are some of the common objections? Price, right? Price is a big one. Do the products work? Is it a scam? Is it a pyramid scheme? How about the one that I love? My cousin's co-worker's husband got liver disease from Plexus, right? Like, give me a break. Ingredients are dangerous. I read online that they're not good for you. I tried it before, it didn't work. Or one of my other favorites, I'm just gonna go to the gym and eat healthy, okay? These are all objections, right? And we always want to assume positive intent when somebody gives us an objection. Don't assume that just because they said their cousin's husband's brother got liver disease that they're being mean to you, or they're being negative, or they're trying to slam Plexus, okay? 99.9% of the time, they're just uninformed. They're not educated, and it's our job, it's your job to educate them, right? So I'm gonna go over these the best I can. But again, a lot of these objections are just in how you talk to people, what you're projecting, okay? Especially with price. Is my realtor afraid to talk about price when I tell her I want to buy a house? Nope. Is my photographer afraid to go over all the different packages of photo shoots? Nope. Does my hairdresser hesitate when I go sit down in her chair and ask her for a haircut? No, right? So you guys got to be thinking the exact same way. So for pricing objections, if somebody says it's too expensive or somebody says I can't afford it, to me those are two different things, okay? If somebody says it's too expensive, then you haven't showed them the value in the products because it's not expensive, guys. $100 for 3 products for a month, that's nothing. That is a heck of a deal. Now, not being able to afford it is different. If somebody doesn't have $100 in their budget that they can add Plexus as a line item, that's different. We'll get to that in a minute, right? So if somebody tells you it's expensive, you're projecting that onto them, or they've asked you the price, and without any conversation about products and their health goals, you've told them it's $100, right? Which we don't know. I can't tell anybody what the price is until I know what product I'm going to recommend for them, right? So never show them the price first. Never send them to your website. Don't ever, ever send your website, because if they don't have any context on that website, they're going to get overwhelmed. They're going to see the retail price and they're going to hit the road, okay? When I first heard of Plexus, I wasn't really interested, but I told Sarah Taylor, send me your website. She said no. Right? And it's a good thing she did, because I was such a skeptic. I would have clicked on that website and I would have looked at the products, gotten overwhelmed. Back then there were only like 11 or 12. And then I also would have thought they weren't for me because I thought I was healthy. So don't ever send your website, right? Be their consultant. When it comes to price, just tell them we don't know yet. Educate them. Ask questions. What are their health goals? What are their health issues? Are they on any medications? What are their eating habits? What changes are they willing to make to get healthy? Okay? These are things we need to know. And then when you personalize the recommendation of the product, don't just tell them how great Triplex is. Tell them what Triplex can do for them. Be like, okay, you know what? Because you told me you have IBS and you have allergies, I'm going to recommend the Triplex combo. Here's what it's going to do for you. Now, you don't have to start with that combo. You could totally start with just the pink drink. You can totally start with just the probiotic. If we do that, then you're not going to have as many health wins, but you're going to notice a couple of things, right? So give them that personal recommendation. When you do that, you build the value, and then I guarantee you're not going to get that price objection that it's too expensive, okay? Now, if somebody says they can't afford it, then you can use the feel, felt, found method, right? That's when you can say, well, you know what? I felt that way too when I first started. I didn't know how I was going to fit $100 into my budget either. But what I found was that when I looked at where I was spending my money, I actually was spending money on Diet Cokes a couple days a week and coffees, and that alone was less than that alone was more than what it cost me to buy Plexus, right? So turn it around. Use the feel, felt, found method. We get it. I know people afford what they want to afford. Okay, but they may not be ready to put that money towards their health, and that's okay. You don't want to convince anybody. We're not in the convincing business. You want someone who's invested, right? So connect with them, put them at ease, share that you have these same concerns too, because the bottom line is they're not expensive, and you don't want to project that bias onto your potentials, because if you think they're expensive, then you really need to do some realization that they're not, okay? Especially for what we get. Also, don't assume someone can't afford it, okay? This is pretty common. I see this a lot. Maybe you know because someone on Facebook doesn't have a lot of money, you are assuming they can't afford Plexus. But you can't assume the value someone is going to place on where they spend their money, okay? That person may be ready to place the value on their health, okay? The other thing I would say when it comes to the pricing objection, and we're spending a lot of time on this because it's probably, the most common one, is that almost be dismissive, right? Because you're not in it for the money. I don't care if they get started on ProBio or they get started on a double welcome pack. I want to collect their success story, okay? You want to have these conversations and you want to set those expectations because, you know, the other thing is just because we can help them with something doesn't mean they want help, right? I was talking to someone the other day who had severe food allergies, which I know Plexus can turn around, but she doesn't care. She just wants to lose 10 pounds, okay? So you definitely want to have those conversations before you make that recommendation because people can't afford it, right? They can. They can rearrange their budgets. I promise you, they can afford Plexus. So if somebody comes to you, I have a girl right now, she was supposed to join during the July 4th special. She missed it. I reached out to her, didn't get a response, and I thought, you know what, I bet she's having some hesitation. So I messaged her back and I said, hey, listen, if you're still interested, let me know. And if not, if something has changed, that's okay. Let me know so I know whether or not to follow up with you. And she said, look, Amy, it was crazy. We spent too much money at the holidays. I don't get paid until Friday. I really want to do it, but money's just tight right now. And guess what? I said, that's okay. But I always set up the next conversation. So I said, I will check back in with you on Tuesday. Does that sound good to see if you're ready? And she said, yes. All right. So if you're getting these objections and you're not able to overcome them, you really need to look at the conversations you're having because I bet most likely it's you. Right? I also have had people who have said, you know, I just really can't fit it into my budget. And I've said, okay, if I can help you fit it into your budget, are you willing to do that? And if they say no, then let them go, guys. Let them go, right? They're not ready. They're not ready. They might order for a month and they'll hit the road, okay? If they say yes, then help them fit it in, right? Whether it's getting them started on ProBio for 30 bucks as a customer, or it's helping them save $5 a day to where they can order a welcome pack and pay their $34.95 the next month. But you have to make sure you are saying, I will follow up with you on this date. Is that okay, right? You can also talk about the guarantee that they could get their money back, and you can also share that our return rate is less than 1%, right? So build that common ground that, and you know, you may have to remind them too that you're their friend. You're not trying to take their money, all right? So that's the biggest one, is the pricing objection. Hey guys, the next objection we get is that it's a scam or a pyramid scheme. And I think when you first start in network marketing and you first share Plexus for the first time, you get this a lot. I never get this now. Like, people know better than to tell me it's a pyramid scheme, right? But when I first started out, they said it a lot. And it's because I just hadn't educated my audience on what that is. So I love this objection. I almost laugh it off. And it's not that people are being rude or mean at all. Oftentimes, remember, we always want to assume positive intent, okay? It's oftentimes that they actually don't know. They're not educated. They really do think it's a pyramid scheme. I did. I thought network marketing was a pyramid scheme before I knew anything about it, right? So don't get defensive. It's really easy with this objection to get defensive, okay? But please don't, because then that is just really going to turn them off. Many people just don't understand. And, you know, sadly, there are pyramid schemes out there. It's a legitimate question. They are allowed, they have a legitimate concern when they ask that. And one of the best things you can do to overcome it is tell them that you thought the same thing. You totally thought network marketing was a pyramid scheme, but that's because you didn't know what a pyramid scheme was. And so ask them if they know what a pyramid scheme is, right? That's it. You don't have to worry about giving them this big spiel. Tell them, say, I thought that too. Do you know what a pyramid scheme actually is? All right? And oftentimes they're going to tell you no. They don't really know. So when you put it back on them, then that you provide then that opportunity to educate them on what a pyramid scheme is and how it is different than network marketing. You can explain it. So what I like to do is I tell them that a pyramid scheme is illegal. I would never be involved in something illegal. A pyramid scheme is when people at the bottom give money to people at the top and there's no products exchanged. Plexus is different. We are actually online shopping. We are no different than Tupperware or Avon. And I like to use those two because they cut across all generations. Everyone knows that Avon and Tupperware is legit. Most people don't know that Avon and Tupperware was network marketing, right? I also, sometimes I'll tell them that we are a social marketing, social commerce company where we sell our products online instead of stores, but we're backed by Morgan Stanley. They chose us as a client, right? Morgan Stanley wouldn't do that if we were a scheme. We are just online shopping. Plus, in our model, you can actually make more money than your sponsor, and you can get a paycheck in your first week. Then I like to share my story of when I did work in a pyramid scheme, right? I bet all of you guys have worked in a pyramid scheme too, right? Whether you are an advisor or a coordinator or a manager, then you have the supervisor, then you have the assistant vice president, then you have the president, then you have the senior vice chancellor, right on up. I used to work in a pyramid scheme. So, you know, I usually joke about it. I kind of laugh it off, right? So don't get upset when somebody mentions a pyramid scheme. Use it as a chance to brag on Plexus and to educate them, right? Because they might think that we're a fly-by-night company that's only going to take their money and run, because there have been other companies, right? Especially if you have people that you're talking to that are around like in the 80s, the big like Amway disaster, that's what they think of. They think of these executives that take everyone's money and they run. We just are not it, okay? The other objection we get often is either they got online and they found some crazy review, or they tell you their cousin's husband's coworker got hospitalized for liver failure, or they'll tell you their doctor said that somebody got hospitalized for liver failure with Plexus. These are also my favorite, and it's hard for me not to laugh and make fun of the person. But again, don't let them frustrate you. Don't get defensive, because again, they're just not educated, okay? And a couple of things that you guys need to realize. One, if Plexus ever caused liver anything with any of our products, we'd be turned into the FDA and we would be in trouble and we would be shut down. Doctors' offices by law are required to report if that ever happens. There has never been a report of any of our products, whether it be the pink drink or a vitamin or a probiotic, causing any sort of damage. So that you can rest assured and be confident about, right? These are all those like wives' tales that get spun, but people are adamant, like they truly believe them. So here's what I like to do. I like to tell them, look, oh my goodness, I did the same thing. When I started to look into Plexus, I Googled it and I found all of these crazy articles about how bad it is, how dangerous it was, and then it made me hesitate. But then I started looking further and I realized all of those sites that come up are from competitors. They actually sell their own product, but they pay for their website to come up on Google, right? So then I would always direct them to scholarly articles. And then of course I would tell them again, I would never put my name or would I ever jeopardize the health of my family by sharing something that was dangerous, right? And then the other go-to is you can say, go ask your doctor, ask your pharmacist. That puts the ball back in their court and it shows them that you're not afraid of what they're gonna find. If you're confident enough to tell them this, then they should have no argument beyond that. And then you always can just encourage them to look at our labels and ingredients, right? If they keep talking about it, you can always ask them for the source. If they have a source of this bad news, and it can't be their cousin's husband's coworker's doctor, right? But it's almost always a blog or an article from someone who's a competitor. And oftentimes these competitors, they might even have a website that says like, you know, greenliving.com that looks like a legitimate website, but it's not, okay? So a blog is not a good source. Sometimes you need to educate them on what a reputable source for information is, because anyone can put anything on the internet. There's no rule, there's no legal authority that checks that what you put on the internet is true. Then, of course, you can also tell them we work hand in hand with the FDA. Our QA process is incredible. We actually have a video from the head of quality control on all of the testing. Plus, our products are thoroughly tested for years before they're ever brought to market, right? You also can share the studies, but don't puke all of this on them, right? If they have a objection, don't just puke all of this. Oftentimes you can overcome it just with your own conviction and your own confidence, and you never even have to send them all of that stuff, right? So another common objection that we get is that, I am just going to go to the gym and eat healthy. And I tell people, that's awesome. That's what we want you to do. Yay for you. You are now ready to start Plexus, right? Because Plexus does not replace going to the gym or eating healthy. That's not what we do. We actually encourage people who are on Plexus to go to the gym and eat healthy. And in fact, it's going to make eating healthy easier for you, and it's going to make your results at the gym even better once your insides are healthy. So that's a pretty common objection. It's an easy one to overcome. And then, of course, if they keep talking about it, you could always show them any of our testimonies from a lot of our people who are hardcore fitness instructors, bodybuilders, fitness competitors, and why they love Plexus. You know, the other thing too, if someone's just adamant they're going to do that, I will just say that's great. Once you let me know how that goes, and when you're ready to get healthy on the inside, you know where to find me. I don't ever end a conversation with them having the last word, right? It's not that I'm argumentative, but I just want them to know that they're not right. Okay, so you always want to use that positive language, be friendly, but then let them know that Plexus is something that they absolutely are going to need, right? Another common one that we get is it's not really an objection. Well, sometimes it could be, but oftentimes we get people to say that Slim has caffeine. I can't take it because it's full of caffeine. When you get these weird objections that are just flat out wrong, it's just because they don't know, they're not educated, and we haven't done our due diligence in sharing product information with them, right? So if you get the Slim has caffeine, if you have someone who says Slim raised my heart rate, like, no, it didn't. There's no stimulants in it. Either ask your upline to get involved or let them help you on how to overcome that, right? We get other things sometimes like Plexus gave me strep throat, or I took Plexus and then my foot went numb, right? No, it didn't, right? Like, it's just a coincidence, but you have to be confident enough and bold enough to tell them that's not it. Like, I'm sorry your foot went numb, but it's not because you took a bio cleanse, right? Have them take a step back, rationally think about it. Especially when people first get started, they are still skeptics, right? I came home and told Steve, I don't think it's going to work. Don't tell anybody. Had I had anything happen to me in those first 2 weeks, I absolutely would have blamed Plexus, even though rationally I know it's not going to happen from a vitamin, okay? But you have to have that confidence again and that belief to overcome it and to know, right? So a couple of other things. If you have somebody who says it didn't work for me, don't ever let that be the end of the conversation. Sometimes I'll see when people are like, well, it didn't work for me, and then the ambassador says, oh man, I hate that for you, sorry, and then they end it. Like, no. Two things. And I mean, one, that person can absolutely try it again. They probably were on the wrong products, but more importantly than that, in my eyes, I don't want people out there thinking Plexus doesn't work for them. So if somebody comes to me and they have the objection that it didn't work for them and they are never going to try it again, that's fine. But I do not want to leave the conversation where they think they're right. Okay, so don't allow that to be the end. I would tell them, I hate that you were on products that weren't right for you, right? See how I did that? You want to turn that around. So don't allow that to be on the end. I would say maybe you weren't on the right products, or I hate that a lot of times if I have somebody come to me, let's say they've been on the product for like 30 days, 60 days, and they're like, I'm quitting, because I didn't notice a big difference. I will tell them, I hate that for you. I'm sorry. I hate that you did not give the products enough time to work, right? I don't ever let anybody blame our products because I know it is not our products. But again, I can only overcome those objections because I have that confidence and that belief in the products. Okay, so lastly, guys, I want to see if there's any other, let me know if there's any other objections that maybe you guys have heard that I didn't cover. Oh, stay on this page. Somebody, okay. Let me know if there's any other ones. You guys can comment them there. One thing too, when it comes to objections or when it comes to just kind of building your confidence in plexus, we have this thing called the shield of confidence. And basically it's a nice little picture and it has 4 kind of points that you can always fall back on when it comes to plexus if you're not sure, right? And of course you can always go to your upline, but one is your own experience with plexus, right? No one can take away your truth. If plexus has changed your life, doesn't matter what anybody says, that's your truth. No one can take that away. Secondly, all of the thousands and thousands of other people's testimonies, you can fall back on those. You can fall back on our products and the clinical studies, and then you also can fall back on our company, right? We know they always make things right. We have a money-back guarantee. We're debt-free. If our products didn't work, we'd be broke. So oftentimes fall back on that shield of confidence. I've got a training on my YouTube page where I went over it and you can see a picture of that shield, right? Another objection that we get, probably the final one, is, well, there's 2. One is just a flat out no, okay? And I think this is a major reason why people aren't bold and they're afraid, because they're afraid they're gonna get a no. Who cares? Who cares if you get a no, right? Who cares? What's going to happen? Are you going to die? No. Will the person never talk to you again? No. Okay? Detach from no. You've heard us say it a million times. It's like the waitress at the restaurant. She asks you if you want coffee. You say no. Okay? She doesn't go home and cry. She doesn't quit her job. She doesn't ask the next table if they want coffee or the next table if they want coffee, right? She goes to all the tables and then she circles back to you, because guess what? When she circles back to you the 3rd, 4th, 5th time, you've changed your mind and you've decided you wanted coffee, all right? It doesn't mean no forever. No means not right now. No might mean you didn't build the value. No might mean that they're just not ready, right? Oftentimes, ask them why. So often we're afraid of people's answers that we don't ask them why they have that. So ask them, no, why? Can I ask you why? I'm curious. Because unless you know the reason, you can't overcome it, right? Sometimes it's just timing. We have to respect that. We don't have, like I said, we're not in the convincing business. I don't ever want to beg somebody to start plexus if they're not ready. But if you know that it's a timing issue, then you just follow up and you never take them off your list. Because remember, 80% of all sales happen between the 5th and the 12th contact. So if you follow up with somebody 11 times and they tell you no 11 times and you quit, chances are they were probably going to say yes that next time. So don't ever take anyone off your list. Now, if you're not getting no's, then you're not doing it right, right? You should be a collector of no's, but they should be on your list to turn into yeses. All right. So I hope this was helpful, you guys. I want you to be bold in your confidence in plexus, bold in your belief. You should be proud to be a plexus ambassador. All right, here you go. You guys should be so proud, and that should just ooze off of you to where people would be like, man, I want what she's got. I want what she's doing. Yeah, so that's a great one. We have a scientific advisory board, ask for referrals. So Jody had a objection. I'm not interested, but thanks for thinking of me. I love those. I wind up, yeah. So always have conversations with people. Guys, we should be a collector of stories, not points, right? Or not sales. We should be a collector of stories and a collector of friends. And I find often that when those types of things, especially when they say, I'm not interested, but thanks for thinking of me, you just be their friend and be super nice, right? Don't be fake, but just be their friend. They're going to come around. They are going to come around because they are going to see your posts on Facebook. They're going to see what you're sharing of other people who are getting on board and getting healthy, and they are going to want to try it too. So guys, I hope that was helpful. I will also upload this to YouTube in case you want to send it to anyone on your team that missed it. But thanks for hanging out on today's Lunch and Learn.